There's a certain sense of urgency in cutting the grass here this spring. Unfortunately, my Toro has let me down. It's just not running. So frustrating. Let me show you what's going on. So I pulled out the spark plug. It's in good shape. I just replaced it. And then it squirted a little starter fluid in there. Just show you that I am in fact getting a spark. And that's what happens. And it dies. And I don't know if it's a vacuum leak that's not pulling gas into the cylinder. I'm going to take the carburetor off. All right, well, so it works perfectly now. To sum up, let me tell you what I did, and you could skip the rest of the video, but if you need to take the carburetor off, I've done it like 6 times now, you got to take it off here. Take those 2 bolts off, take the exhaust off. There's 2 screw bolts on here. Pull those off. The whole carburetor will come away from there. There are these 2 wire things under there. Take note of where they are before you take them off. I had to make sure that the loop comes down under the accelerator and then loops up, otherwise it gets stuck on here. This is your speed control, so if you screw that in, it'll go faster. Screw it out, it'll go slower. My problem with this button not working was actually this hose right here didn't have a clamp on it. That's important because what this does is it just sends air up into the tank, pressurizes it, and squirts it out the bottom, fills this bowl up. So if this isn't a good seal, it's not going to work, and that was the problem that I was having. I was also having a problem with the jets. There's a jet on the screw on the bottom of this bowl. Let's go down from the top, make sure that's clean, and then there's one right here which is screwed all the way in, but screw that all the way out. There's a really tiny hole. Make sure that's cleaned out, and that ought to fix about 95% of the problems that you have with not getting fuel. You can't get, there's no bolt for the inside carburetor bolt, so you got to take the exhaust off and then you can get to it from this side. Well, no, you can't even get to it from that side, so I'm going to take these off here. Hopefully this whole thing will come off then. Here. Now I can get to it and take a look at what's going on. This could be the problem. Let me see if I can zoom in. And it's a little hard to see, but this thing has holes on the side here, but then there's a hole in the end, and I believe when I took it out that end hole was plugged. It's a very small hole, so it's tough to find something that fits all the way through it because it's bigger at the tip and then it gets smaller inside. So I think I got it cleaned out. I was able to pass something through it. That thing screws into the carburetor right here, and it was just screwed all the way in. So I'm going to put it back together again and see if that fixes it. This bolt also that goes on the bottom of the bowl for the carburetor has a little hole in the middle and 2 on the sides. Make sure those are cleaned out. Again, very small. Another thing I found that actually makes some sense is this hose that goes, I don't know where it goes, it appears to go to the gas tank, but so does this one. Maybe it's, actually, you know what that is? That's what was going on, is that didn't have a clamp on it, so I wasn't getting a good seal, and when I pushed this button it didn't work very well. So that should, what I think that does is pressurize the tank and allows the gas to go in there. Anyways, I didn't have a tiny hose clamp, so I got a zip tie on it. I think that's going to help things. I'm going to just say this in case you need some inspiration. I was so sick of this thing not starting, that I was just going to buy a new one because I can, and I'm just sick of having to fix it. But if I bought a new one, it would break too in just the same amount of time. So I even left it out in the yard at night, hoping somebody might walk away with it, as people often do with things left out in the yard. But it was still there in the morning, so I decided to address it in a more mature manner. And all it took was taking the carburetor off and just going through it. And you probably don't even have to do that. Just follow the easy steps. I'm really glad that I did. It works great now, finally. So, you know, it's worth giving it a shot. Just remember, if you buy a new one of these things, it'll probably break in the first year or two. So it's good to know how to fix them.